Hi everyone, my name is Deanna and welcome to my channel about stories that happen in life. Sit back, pour yourself a hot drink. I think this is going to be very interesting. Well, before we start, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a lot of new and useful videos. After ninth grade, Lida decided to enter a teacher training college. She had dreamed of becoming a teacher since childhood. And here she was in the district center. She didn't want to live in a dormitory. After settling in, she agreed with 3 more girls, and they rented 2 rooms from one grandmother. It was fun to live, the 2 in a room, in the third, the hostess. From the first day, they began to study. If someone did not have time, they shared notes and did homework together. At first, everything was fine. Girls, why don't you go anywhere? You are at home, sitting around. At least on weekends, you could go out somewhere, said their grandmother. I don't feel like it, they shrugged their shoulders. Lida was bored, but she could not admit it to her friends, in case they condemn her. And really, let's go to the disco, once suggested the girl. What about the tasks? They set so many of them that we're afraid we won't be able to cope. The neighbors looked at her. What are you talking about? Then we'll all sit down together and do them. Lida persuaded them. Well, okay, but only if we don't like it. We'll leave right away, they agreed. The girls began to choose outfits, apply makeup, and comb their hair. I don't even have a dress, Olga sighed. It's okay, look at mine, maybe something will fit. Lida opened her closet. Unlike her neighbors, she was more fashionable and advanced. Can I try this on? Pulled out one of her friend's outfits from Lida's closet. Sure, she nodded her head. The dress fit perfectly, so she could switch to the others. Are you going to wear that? Lida looked at Irina. She stood in a woolen sweater and a floor-length skirt. Why, is it bad? Clapped her eyes at that one. Well, you could go to church like that, but not to the disco, laughed Lida. I don't know what to wear then, she lamented. Let's see what you have. The girls went into Irina's closet. There were a lot of things there, but everything was old-fashioned. Did you bring your mother's and grandmother's closets? Laughed girlfriends. I might get offended. The girl looked at them. Okay, look. Lida took out her short skirt. It is perfect with this blouse. Finally, everyone was ready. It was time to go out. But again, there was a hitch. Irina didn't have the right shoes. The girls' sizes didn't match, and that was a problem. Then the grandmother came out into the corridor. Why are we stuck? She asked. Yes, there are no shoes. They pointed at Irina. What size? Asked the landlady. 40th, answered the girl, and her cheeks turned red. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. I have one too, waved her grandmother's hand. She'll bring her own. The girls giggled. Here, look, my granddaughter left me. But where will I go in these? She showed quite good half boots. This is just what you need. Lida took them in her hands, looked at them, tried them on. A little tight in the toe. After wearing, Irina complained. It's okay, you'll trample them, joked the hostess. No one argued, and the friends went outside. It wasn't very far to go, but while they were walking, Irina was whining all the way. Calm down already. Now we will come, sit in the chair, and you will sit, said Lida with irritation. She was very beautiful, small in stature with red hair and black eyes. Yeah, I'm going to sit at the disco, said Irina resentfully. Then don't moan. The girls turned to her. They came, bought tickets, and went into the hall. It was quite dark, music was playing, and many people were already dancing. The girls formed a circle and began to move to the beat of the music. A slow dance sounded, and the girls went closer to the chairs. Only one couple danced to this composition. After that, everything continued. It was very fun. Having danced enough, the girls went home. It was great, said Ira. And what? Not even pressed shoes? Her friends laughed at her. Stop mocking. I guess my grandmother was right. I've worn them out. She looked at her feet. That's good. Lida called everyone to go further. Girls, excuse me. A guy ran up to them. Yes, they looked back. Some guys want to meet you, but they don't dare to approach you. He pointed towards the trays, which were standing right there. And we're not shy. What kind of guys they are? Olga stood up, her arms at her sides. Come on, let's go and chat. Lida pushed her friend. Okay, let's go, but only not for long. She raised her finger. They went in the direction the guy was pointing. Hi, Lida said loudly. Hi, said the guys. Why didn't you come yourself, but sent someone? Asked the girls. There are a lot of people. Suddenly you would not go. The guys did not know what to say. Aha, but it's okay. Go over there. They are waiting for you there. Olga gestured. Well, they came. The young men laughed. I think you wanted to get acquainted. Lida asked. Yes, I'm Dima. He extended his hand to her. Lida, and this is Irina, Olga, and Seda. She pointed at her friends. Aha, I didn't introduce the others. The guy realized Alexei, Petya, and Ruslan. It's a pleasure, Irina said. And to us, the guys jumped from their seats. What are you doing? Why weren't you in the hall? Asked the girls. Why, we came in. They looked. We didn't notice you, said Seda, who had been silent all the time. But we noticed you. Dima grinned. Let's go for a walk. It's late. Olya looked at her watch. We won't be long. We'll see you off later, promised the guys. They went in a big company, first to the center, then to the river. In the end, they decided to sit at the bus stop, which was almost to the girl's house. You are funny. It's interesting with you, Lida said. And you are beautiful. Dima took her hand. Come on. She did not remove her hand. Will we meet tomorrow? He asked. If you come in, we'll meet, Lida said playfully. We can't. We have an assignment. Olya pushed her. What are you talking about your assignment? The girl waved her away. She liked the guy. Perhaps because it was the first disco in her life, and the first gentleman who took her hand. That's it. We have to go. Ira got up from the bench. She was holding Sveda's hand. Okay, we'll see you off. The others jumped off. They walked home, guys separately, girls separately, and only Dima and Lida held hands. At the entrance, they stopped and began to say goodbye. Dima promised to come back tomorrow night. How was the dancing? The hostess met them at the door. Everything was fine. We liked it. The girlfriends began to talk interchangeably. Well, come in. I've boiled some tea. She invited them into the kitchen. Have you met the guys? She began her interrogation. Yeah, they nodded their heads because their mouths were busy with Yoshiki. And how? The woman didn't take her eyes off them. Whoa, Lida raised her finger. All right, and now to bed, commanded grandmother. Everyone washed up and went to their rooms. How do you like Dimka? Lida asked Sveta. They lived in the same room. Fine, she shrugged her shoulders. She didn't seem to be very interested in the whole story. I liked him a lot. He was so big and strong. The girl looked dreamily out the window. Ruslan is nice too, Sveta said quietly. Ah, so you were still looking at guys, and I thought you didn't care about it at all. Lida ran to her friend's bed. Yeah, the neighbor yawned. Let's sleep. They went to bed, but Lida couldn't sleep. She kept thinking and thinking about the evening walk. He held her hand. His palms were so soft. In her 16 years, the girl imagined how they would kiss for the first time. Then they would go for a walk. He would love her a lot, and at the end, there would be a wedding. With these dreams, the girl fell asleep. In the morning, they didn't go anywhere because it was a day off. By Monday, they had to prepare a big project, but the thoughts were not about that. Lida had breakfast, then came to the room where the girls were already creating something. What are you doing? She asked. Stop asking stupid questions. Joining in, they called her. No, sorry, I can't. I need to dye my hair and get ready. Dima will come by in the evening. She looked at them pleadingly. And you're not going. Litka, stop thinking about guys. Come on, help me, Olya shouted. I'll be right back. I'll just put some oil on my hair. The girl ran away. Here, she is always like this. Looked at her after Seda. All the time have to do everything for not to do. In the evening, the doorbell rang. It's him, Lida hid behind her grandmother's back. And what? Go open. She could not understand what was happening. All day chirped about the guy, and now when he came she was scared. Hi. Lida opened the door. Her face was burning. Hi, shall we go? He nodded to the girl. What are you, alone? She did not understand. And with whom else? He was also confused. With friends, she said cheerfully. I came to hang out with you, not with my friends, the guy answered sharply. Okay, now, wait. She closed the door and rushed into the room. Guys, guess what? He came alone to hang out with me, she said quickly. And what are you still doing here? Irina asked her. You'll not be offended. She folded her arms. Of course not. They threw a pillow at her, but she managed to close the door. Under the laughter of friends, Lida put on her shoes and ran out the door. I still don't understand why you need my friends, Dmitri asked while they were coming downstairs. Well, I'm with my friends. She raced up the stairs. I only wanted to walk with you. He stopped. I'm glad. She looked down at him. Where shall we go? It was an eternal question because there were very few places to go. I don't know. It's warm outside. Let's just wander around, the girl suggested. She felt very good at heart. It was the first time she fell in love. Maybe it just seemed, but at that time Lida felt exactly that. They walked and talked. When it got a little dark, the young people came to the schoolyard and settled there in a gazebo. So you're not from around here? Asked her boyfriend. Nope. Lida nodded negatively. I see. How long are you here for? He was interested. I hope so, she laughed. What course? The questions kept coming. Freshman year, she said simply. So you're still quite young. He laughed too, took the girl in an armful. Dima pressed Lida against him. They were very close to each other. Can I kiss you? He asked. Of course, she closed her eyes. The guy very gently touched her lips. It was so nice. Goosebumps crawled up her arms and legs. Will you go out with me? He asked while Lida's eyes were still open. Yeah, she was already looking at him, and she liked everything about him. Then he walked her home. The girl was happy that she met such a good and decent man. At home, she told the girls in detail everything that had happened on the walk. She especially focused on the kiss. It was not only their first time, it was the first time for Lida. Then the school week began, Dima came in, and she and Lida went outside. For a long time, the girl could not chill, waiting for assignments and lessons. Lida, I'm going to the army soon, once said the guy. How? Could not believe it, the girl. Like everyone else, he looked at the ground. For 2 years, she didn't know how she would survive the separation. Yeah, he hugged her. Will you come to the send-off? Of course, and the girls can take with you. Lida was trembling. Take them. Dima was very sad. The girl returned home very upset. She did not want anyone to get in her way now. Only the next day she told her friends what had happened. Stop being upset. Time will pass quickly. You'll just finish your studies. Ira reassured her. And you'll grow up, Sveta added. They all walked together through the city. In 4 days, Dima had to leave. Lida thought about how to tell the girls that she wouldn't be able to do anything during those days. You don't need to make up anything. Olga looked at her. We understand everything, and we'll do it. Thank you, girls. Lida hugged all of them at once. On Saturday at the appointed time, they all went together to the address where the guy lived. There were already many guys and girls gathered there. Dima lived in a private house, so while it was not so cold outside, the tables were set right there. If it gets cold, we'll go inside, Dima's mom said. Mom, can I talk to you for a minute? The boy called her. Yes, son, what's wrong? She ran up. At this time, she was wiping her hands with a towel. Meet Lida. This is Lida, my girlfriend. He introduced the girl. Nice to meet you. I'm Antonina Petrovna. She shook his hand. Pleased to meet you, the girl replied modestly. So, enough talking. Lida, take your girlfriends. Let's go and help. She nodded her head at the front door. Someone was laying out cutlery. Others were carrying ready salads and appetizers. There was a lot of food. Then they began to toast to good service and soon return. Lida sat next to Dima. She did not yet realize that he was leaving for a long time. And only the next day at the station, she realized that they would not see each other for 2 years. "I'll be waiting for you," she told him. "Don't make empty promises." He leaned over to her and said in her ear. "It's true." Lida was offended. "Here, I'll come and we'll see." He ruffled her hair. They kissed. He went into the carriage, and it took him far away from Lida. The girl returned home. She was not herself. "Why are you so gloomy?" asked the landlady. "Bad," Lida answered in one word. "Went you crazy girl? You know him without a year a week. You'll find another one." He hugged and a little shook the girl. "What are you saying? I love him." She looked at the mistress. "And what? Soon all your love will come to naught." The one only waved away. Lida began to study with redoubled vigor. By New Year's Eve, she had caught up with all the subjects. For the holidays, it was decided to go home to her parents. The whole bunch of girls piled into the bus. It was fun. They joked and made plans. "Hi, dear." Mom ran towards Lida. "I missed you so much," they hugged. The whole family was gathered in the house, and in a few hours, the chimes were to begin to strike. Champagne was ready, wishes too. The moment of truth came. The cork shot into the ceiling. The papers with wishes burned. The glasses clinked. Everyone drank, and New Year's Eve came. "Tell me, how did you live? What happened?" Mom asked me in the morning. "Nothing happened, just studying and studying again." Lida shrugged her shoulders. She didn't want to talk about Dima. She wasn't sure that he needed her, so why get someone's hopes up? Lida wrote to him every day, but only one letter came from him. It said that if she waited, he would see it on the platform in 2 years, and if not 2, there was no need to write anymore, so as not to give hope to him or himself. "I see, everything is the same in our village. My mother was making dough." "Aunt Anka came?" Lida asked. "I don't know." Mom shrugged her shoulders. "I'll run to her." She threw on her mother's old duffel coat and felt boots. She ran out into the street. Her school friend Anya lived a couple of houses away. Lida ran up to her house and tried to open the fence, but the door gave in. She ran into the house. "Aunt Natasha, hello? Has Anya arrived?" She saw Anya's mother in the kitchen. "Yes, she's still asleep." The woman put her finger to her lips. "Well, can I wait for her and help you?" Lida sat down at the table. She began to roll out straws for the dumplings that Aunt Natasha was making. "How are you?" the woman whispered. "I'm fine." Lida pointed her finger up. "I see." She continued molding. The curtain slid open, and the sleepy face of a friend looked into the kitchen. "What are you yelling here?" she asked. "Hi, girlfriend." Lida opened her arms for her. "Hi." She hugged her tiredly. "Wait now, I'll wash up and we'll talk." After Anya was ready, the girls had a little snack and ran outside. They had their place in the hayloft, where they shared all their secrets. "Tell me about your studies," winked Anya Lida. "Yes, forget it, this study." Lida waved her hand. "I don't mean that. Did you meet any guys?" Anya couldn't wait to find out. "Yeah, with one." The girl took a straw in her hand and began to rub it. "And what? Tell me more," her friend said hurriedly. "And there's nothing to tell. He went to the army." Lida waved her hands. "I see," sadly summarized Anya. "How are you?" Looked at her Lida. "Nothing at all." "Shall we go to the disco tonight?" She looked with big eyes at her friend. "Why not? Let's go," Lida simply said. "Well then, until evening. I'll go. Mom is waiting. I need to help." She kissed her friend on the cheek and ran. In the evening, Anya and Lida came to the club, but there was almost no one there. "Well, it's not interesting." Lida stretched out. "Wait, this is just the beginning," calmed her friend. Indeed, closer to the middle the people began to pull up. For some reason, everyone was waiting for a slow song, and it sounded, "Can I invite you?" heard over her ear Lida. Yes, she did not know what to answer, so she agreed. "Remember me?" asked the guy. "Well, how can I forget you?" Lida laughed. It was Vanya, who was now in the 11th grade. And she, how is it there in your city lives? He asked. Better than in your village, said the girl. Why are you getting cocky? The guy pressed her a little tighter against him. Why, you can't. She laughed in his face. She went to the city and that's it. She became cool, right? He was annoyed by all the city people. And if she did, then what? She teased the guy on purpose. Nothing. He unclenched his hands, and Lida immediately moved away from him. They danced a little more and got ready to go home. On the way, the girlfriends laughed and talked about their things. They said goodbye to meet tomorrow. Lida helped her mother around the house. They did a lot. It was time to leave to go back to school. There were many tears, for she and her parents were parting until summer. Lida came to her grandmother's apartment. The girls there were already waiting. Everyone lived in different places, so it was interesting who and how they spent their vacations. After the impressions were over, we started to prepare for what was assigned at the end of December. I miss Dima so much. Lida complained to Sveta. Or just the relationship? Asked the latter. You know, I don't even know anymore, the girl honestly admitted. And again there was a study. With the onset of spring, it was necessary to visit the elementary school to see in practice how to teach children. It was more interesting than sitting at desks. In May, when there was preparation for the session, Lida in the corridor met Vanya. What are you doing here? She did not understand. None of your business, he snapped back. I was just asking. The girl wanted to go further. Will you meet me tonight? He grabbed her arm. It hurts. She pulled her hand out. I don't know. When they were at home doing homework, the doorbell rang. No one moved. Only Olya looked at Lida. What? The girl asked. Aren't you waiting for someone? Surprised by that one. No, and who is there? Lida was also surprised. Ivan, your neighbor. He came up to me today in the school and asked where I live. I said, I'm sorry. She shrugged her shoulders. Fool, Lida said in her heart. She got up and went into the corridor. What do you want? From the threshold, she asked the guy. Came to get you, will you come? He looked at the girl. Now, wait outside the door. She went to her room to get dressed. Okay, Ivan went out on the platform. Lida quickly put on a skirt and blouse, ran out into the corridor, and then out the door. It seems that I did not consent to meet with you. The girl began to tell him. You're the only one I know here, so I came to see you. He was a cocky guy, but he still managed to be normal sometimes. Let's go, she beckoned him to come downstairs. They sat in the courtyard for a while, most of the time just being silent. Then they decided to walk to the school and sit there. So how did you end up here? Lida asked again. As it turned out, I don't want to talk about it. He was rude again. They sat for a while and then went home. Why did he come? The neighbors asked. He couldn't explain it himself. Lida laughed. The next evening he came to her again, and the next and the third. I need to enter the agricultural academy. The exams there are difficult. Only here I can properly prepare, once explained to the guy. Now everything is clear, said Lida. What are you doing? She tried to remove his face and hands when he went to kiss her. We're together, the guy looked at her. If we went out for a few days, it doesn't mean we started dating. The girl was perplexed. What's up? Don't break down. I know that you already had a beau, and he again went to the girl. She fought back as much as she could, but the guy was stronger. He dragged her behind the gatehouse, and there he did what he wanted. You scum, she looked at him with hatred. So, if she'd agreed to it, it would have been nicer, he said insolently. Then he just turned around and left. Lida cleaned herself up. She did not know what she would tell the girls and grandmother. Why her skirt is torn and the buttons on her blouse missing. As she walked home, she thought that she had known this guy all her life, but never thought he could do this. When she reached the apartment, everything was fine. The girls were in the far room, and the landlady was in the kitchen. No one saw her. She managed to change her clothes, comb her hair, and go to the bathroom. The exams were over. She could go home. Lida didn't want to go to her village because she might meet him there. But their parents were more important than anything else, so Lida gathered her strength and went. Only at the end of the summer, the girl realized that something was wrong with her. When she arrived in the city, she immediately bought a pregnancy test. She was shocked when she saw 2 stripes. She never met Ivan in the village. Probably he still got in and stayed in the big city. What to do now? Who to ask for help? But first, she had to go to the hospital. Yes, the pregnancy is more than 3 months, said the doctor after the examination. And what to do? Looked at him, Lida. To give birth, my dear, he made notes in the card. She came home and could not find a place for herself. Finally, the girl decided to consult an adult. She came to the kitchen, where the grandmother was washing dishes. I wanted to talk to you, Lida began. Yes, of course, I'm listening to you. She sat down opposite and put tea on the table. I'm expecting a baby. The girl quickly spoke. What do you mean? From whom? In the village? Did not understand the hostess. No, and Lida told her what had happened in May. Oh girl, why didn't you tell me at once then? We would have punished the bastard. The woman began to lament. I thought that everything would be fine. Lida looked at her with big eyes. Well, what can you do now? Give birth. We'll bring him up like our own. She hugged the girl. In the evening, they all gathered together and Lida told everyone about her situation. The girls supported her and said that all together will cope. How will I tell Dima about it? The girl cried in the evening. He will understand, Sveta reassured her. By New Year's Eve, her stomach was already on her forehead. On New Year's Eve, going to her parents was not desired. But the landlady advised to go now, so that they all learned from her, and not from someone else. And Lida went. When her mother saw her, she just splashed her hands. Why didn't you tell me anything before? She said, we will always support you and understand. Mommy, I didn't know how to do it. Lida was crying again. This time Ivan was not in the village either, and there was no need. Lida returned to the city. Soon it was time to give birth. At the school, her class teacher interceded for her. The girl was allowed to switch to homeschooling. In 2 months, the due date was coming up. At the hospital, all the girls were older. They only wondered how at such a young age it was possible not to be safe. Lida paid no attention to anyone. At night, her stomach grabbed, and Lida realized it had begun. Everything passed quickly. Now there was a small baby on the table. The girl looked at her and her heart was torn apart with love for her. Varyosha said when the doctor said that it was possible to go to the ward. Mom and daughter returned home 5 days later. The girls helped with the documents. Now there were 3 of them living in the room. The landlady helped with everything, and Lida's mother came a couple of times. She brought milk and other homemade food. Lida passed her 2nd year exams, strangely enough well, and they went to the village again. Lida just got off the bus and headed for her house as Ivan appeared on her way. The girl's legs stopped obeying. She stopped. Who do I see? He looked at Lida, then shifted his gaze to the stroller. Go on your way, Lydia muttered. Did you get married? He asked. But Lida didn't even look at him. At first, when she was pregnant, she wanted to tell him everything. But now she decided that there was no need for him to know about her daughter. She was only hers. After the vacation, the girl went back to her grandmother. Here she was well at ease. On September 1, she went to the line together with everyone else. And then she studied at home again. The mistress helped in everything and never refused to sit with the little girl. At the end of September, there was a knock at the door. When Lida opened the door, she saw Antonina Petrovna, Dima's mother, on the threshold. Did something happen? She got excited. No, I came to tell you that Dima is coming tomorrow. Tears came from the woman's eyes. All right, I'll come, Lida told her and closed the door. What to do? She entered the room and looked at her little girl. Varia was already beginning to walk a little. How, take her if he understands. Then you will be together. If not, then it's not fate, said Seda. And Lida made up her mind. At the right time, they were at the station. She saw how everyone squinted at her, but did not pay attention. The train arrived, the doors opened, and people began to come out, and then she saw him. He had grown up and became even more handsome. Dima went to them. First of all, he hugged his mother and then came to Lida. You waited, my dear, I missed you so much. He hugged her. I missed you too. She pressed herself against the guy. Whose baby is that? He pointed at the stroller. Mine, Lida calmly replied and lowered her eyes. I see how you missed here. He recoiled from her and went straight to his friends. The girl stood a little longer, realized that he would not approach her again, and went home. There she cried all night. A week passed. The doorbell rang. Lida, you have a guest. The grandmother looked into the room. She beckoned Seda behind her. Let him come in. The girl was busy with Varia. Hi, she heard Dima's voice. Hi, she didn't look at him. I couldn't make it without you, so I came. I fought it over. Let's get married, and she'll be my daughter. He pointed at Varia. Are you serious? The girl couldn't believe it. Serious as can be, he handed her the ring. And what will your mother say? I saw how she looked at me at the station, Lida whispered. I told her everything, she understood. He hugged the girl. They left the room together, and Dima took Varia in his arms. Girls, I'm getting married. She showed them a ring. We are so happy for you and your right decision. They looked at Dmitri. The wedding was modest. Lida's parents came, and a few friends, that's all. Dima was left an apartment by his grandmother, and the young people began to live in it. At first, everything went well. But over the years, when Varia grew up, Dima began to make claims to his wife. Why should I sit with her? She is not mine. Take her to her father and let him take care of her, he shouted. The girl was already 5 years old by that time. She understood everything. Why are you like this? Lida cried. The guy could not get a job. Lida, on the contrary. After she graduated from school, she decided to work a little for seniority and go on. Just recently, she entered the institute on a correspondence course. She had to go to the sessions, and Varia stayed with her father. Dimochka, please don't drink, Lida asked him. What I want, I do what I want. It's my house. He waved her away. You and Varyusha need to stay, she begged him. After another refusal to work, the young man began to drink like crazy. At this time, strange friends appeared in the house. Sometimes Lida had to run away to her grandmother. They were still in touch. Leave and go, he only said. Lida left her daughter to her father. As soon as she left, strange people immediately appeared in the house. Once Varia entered the room where her father was lying on the bed with a strange aunt. Just tell this to your mother, and I will feed it to the dogs. He brought her to the window and showed her stray dogs. The girl was very afraid, so she kept silent. This went on every day until her mother was home. The girl did not go to the kindergarten, sat at home, and watched everything that was going on there. When Lida came, the little girl was silent because she saw her father watching. Once, in another departure of his wife, Dmitri had to go about his work. He took his daughter with him. When they passed by a garbage can where there were several dogs, Dad jokingly pushed his daughter toward them. Varia was so scared that she even peed in her pants. What? Scared? So know that they will eat you. Even the bones will not remain, he said to the little girl. When finally the mother stopped leaving home, the girl was already completely frightened. Sometimes she was silent for a long time and could not say anything. Lida was worried about all this. When Dmitri got drunk, he could insult his wife and yell that Varia is the daughter of a bastard and so on. The girl was 11. She listened to all this and only cried. Mommy, why don't you leave him? The girl stuttered a little. Where are we going to go? She could only say. Dima never worked anywhere, only Shabbat. There was never any money in the family. The husband drank it all away. Varia was in ninth grade. She met a boy. He walked her home. They were more friends than lovers. Varia, you are so kind and beautiful. I will always protect you, he told her. I believe you. She looked at him and thought he was her only friend. One day Varia and Oleg were walking in her yard. They saw a man walking in the distance. This is my father, the girl said sharply and grabbed her bag. Where are you going? Oleg did not understand. Let's go, he will now dig in. She was just physically afraid of him drunk. Calm down, he will not do anything, calmly said the guy. Dmitri approached. He stared intently, first at the guy and then at Varia. What are you kids doing here? Get lost, or I'll feed you to the dogs, he said his catchphrase. Aren't you afraid that we'd rather feed you to them than you? Said the boy defiantly. What? Dmitri went at him with his fists. He was so drunk that he didn't understand anything. What did you hear? And Oleg shoved the man. Dmitri started to balance. He swung his arms, trying to steady himself, but he couldn't do it and fell. Let's run. Varia grabbed his arm. But Oleg was not going anywhere. He was disgusted to see a drunken man lying on the ground. He could not get up. Then 3 dogs came running from somewhere. They just wanted to sniff, but Dima swung at one of them. And that one got right in his face. Daughter, help, shouted Dmitri. I'm not your daughter, and let the dogs eat you, Varia said bravely. Neighbors ran out at the scream. They tried to pull the dogs away from the man, but this only made things worse. He was lying on the ground, waving his arms, and the dogs were tearing at him. A shot rang out, and some man brought a shotgun into the yard. Only after that the dogs were frightened and ran away. Dmitri was unconscious. Lida came running. She could not believe what was happening, and especially what a face her daughter had. She stood and smiled contentedly. Varia, what happened here? She asked sternly. Revenge, said the girl quietly. In the hospital, where Dmitri was taken away, mother and daughter sat in the corridor. Varia told her mother every last word. She was shocked. She immediately connected all the moments. The stuttering and the frightening, everything that happened after she arrived. When they were sure that the man was alive and in no danger, they went home. Their Lida packed her things, and they went to the village, to her parents. Mom, let Varia for a while to live with you, while I arrange everything, asked Lida. Of course, we're always happy to have a granddaughter, her mother said. Dima did not adopt Varvara, so they divorced quickly. The man had been badly disfigured by the dogs, and now he had an incomprehensible thing instead of a face. When Lida returned to the village, she was in for a surprise. At the table in her mother's house sat Ivan. When she entered, he stood up. Lida, forgive me, he handed her flowers. Why, everything is in the past. She did not look at him. I'm ready to bear any punishment. Today, when I met Varia, I saw that she is the same face as my mom. Is she my daughter? He asked a question. Yes, so what of it? Only said the girl. Marry me, I'll take you to my place. I am well settled, I have a house, and there is enough room for everyone, he begged. Daughter, go away, he is reformed, said the mother. I need to think about it, Lida replied. I'll be waiting. He left the house. Mommy, is that my real daddy? Varia asked. Yes, baby, Lida hugged her. So let's try to go with him, so that this one won't find us, she asked her mother. I'll think about it, my daughter. She kissed her on the top of her head. At night, Lydia thought that she would go with Ivan, but she would not promise him anything. First, she would look at his character and manner, and then she would see.